Hello everybody and welcome to the first ever character build on my channel. This is the Dark Paladin and I will be showing you guys everything about this character build and how it works and how you can take advantage of it. Now I am going to make a lot of suggestions in this video talking about different things that you can use and how you can use them, and just basically going over the basics of this build idea. Okay, now remember, a character build is just a tool that shows you what you can do. It's not here to tell you how to play or say this is the best options, these are these options. That's pretty much all I'm going to do, is show you the options available for the build. And I will also be doing videos explaining how you can play this in each of the roles, tank, healer, and damage dealer. And I will even explain in them that it's more effective to play it this way than this way. So let's get started. The Dark Paladin. The Dark Paladin is a Dark Elf Necromancer. That's the choice I made, and I really like this combination because I think the Dark Elf really complements the idea of like a hybridized type character where you can play both Magicka and Stamina. If you so choose, you can take advantage of their capabilities in that, and I really love that combination. Now, as you can see, right now I have 10 into Magicka, 44 into health, 10 into Stamina. This gives me a well-rounded kind of pool for being a tank. Because the idea of this character is, it is more of like an unholy warrior, okay? Everything about it is about being this unholy warrior type character, and you wanna take advantage of all those tools so you can really play it, dive in and enjoy it. Because it can be a lot of fun, especially if you set it up in the right way. So for now, we are running the Lady Mundustone because we do have it set up for the tank variation. We have Tri-Stat Food because that's going to be the best option for this particular kind of play style, especially if you're using all three, trying to take advantage of all three stats. This is going to allow you to do that. You can also use other foods like Dubious Cameron Throne, Witch Mother's Potent Brew, Artam Takeaway Broth, and I forget the other one. Clockwork Citrus Fillet. You can use those foods as well, but those get expensive. And this is, food just gets expensive. So, alright, let's take a look at the food type so you guys can see the name of it. We are using Longfin Pasty and Melon Sauce with this. This is going to be, again, one of your better options for it. Now, let's go take a look at the gear. The gear we're using, and you have to understand, we are a heavy armor build. Being a heavy armor build doesn't mean we're super DPS, okay? We can do damage, but we're not super DPS. We're not really built for super DPS. We're built more like a person who's there to take a beating and dish it out if we need to. All right, so we are using Thorvikins as our monster set. Now, this monster set just complements the idea of this build really well. And I say that because of the way it works. The one piece gives you max health. This is going to make you overall more viable, healthy-wise, to have greater survivability. The two piece, when you take damage from a nearby enemy, you can summon a growing pool of desecrated bile for 8 seconds. Enemies in the bile take 554 disease damage every 1 second and are afflicted with minor maim and minor defile for 4 seconds, reducing their damage done by 15% and healing and health recovery by 15%. The effect can occur every 8 seconds. So the nice thing is it will do damage for 8 seconds, and it'll apply a negative effect for 4. And that's why I said it complements this really well, because when you play a tank, a healer, or damage dealer, you want something that's going to complement that capability, and that's what this does. This complements your capability to not only tank, but also do support, and to do things to help your group out. So even as a tank, you're still playing the role of a healer, just not in the same sense. You're using abilities to support your group. Alright, and that's what a Paladin does. They're more of like a support utility character that has the ability to tank, deal damage, and heal. Alright, moving on. The next set we're using is called Hunning's Rage. Now this is where we're getting most of our damage output from for the stamina side, because when we're not tanking and we want to do damage, we can focus mostly on stamina DPS. And that's where this is really going to shine for that damage output. Is this set is really good for that. Is it gives you that really high critical value that you need to be a damage dealer. So you are going to get the 2-piece bonus of weapon critical, the 3-piece bonus of max stamina, the 4-piece bonus of weapon critical, 5-piece bonus of weapon damage, and that's going to give you a good, well-rounded setup for being a damage dealer when you need to be. Also, when you're tanking, it does help with some of the abilities you might want to use, like some of the stamina abilities that you want to use to help support your group, maybe, or maybe it's an ability you want to use to help improve your capabilities of doing damage. This will help you do that. So it's just overall a good setup. The next set we're using is called Rattle Cage, and this one is kind of a unique set because a lot of people don't see its purpose, but it's actually a really powerful set because of how it works. See, it gives you max health, then it gives you, on the 2, 3, and 4 piece, lots of spell damage. This is going to help you be more effective as a healer or group support, because this way you can take advantage of that high spell damage to boost your ability to heal people, even as a tank. Alright, and you gain major sorcery at all times. You can't beat it. Alright, I know. So moving on, we are using Sword and Shield right now for the tanking purposes and an Ice Staff. That's what you would use. Typically, for most tanks, that's what you would use. Now, I'm going to go over the sets real quick and talk about the different sets you might want to swap in and out if you so choose. Now, Rattle Cage does drop in a dungeon, so it's going to be a little bit difficult to get in the beginning. A nice set that you can use to complement this is, I'm trying to think of the name, Queen's Elegance, I think? Queen's Elegance is a really good set to complement this. Seducers is a good set. There's a lot of overland sets that could be really good to complement this playstyle for now to help you get to where you need to be with your character. You can even use like the ice set, Iskimir, because you are using an ice staff back bar and you to complement your ability with ice damage. Just to do that so you can earn the other stuff you want. That's a nice way to do that, is use those sets. Huntings is a craftable set, but you do have to be at trait 6 to craft it. But if you have somebody in your guild who can craft this for you, there you go. Monster set wise, now to begin with, I would suggest trying to get something like Bloodspawn. That would be the easiest set for you to get for this type of build to make it really effective, because Bloodspawn is going to give you really good ultimate gen. It's going to allow you to drop ultimates faster. Anytime you take damage, you're going to be able to gain ultimate. Plus, you're going to gain more resistances. So it's going to make you more effective tank and damage dealer and healer, because you can take advantage of that ultimate gen. Now, you're not going to be taking damage all the time. I mean, it depends on the group dynamic and how well you guys play together. Like in Pugs, you might take a lot of damage. In your regular groups, learning the content, you're going to take a lot of damage. So that's why I said Bloodspawn might be a better option until you can get something like Lord Warden. Lord Warden would be another good set to use as a tanky healer and damage dealer, because then you can use that as a tank, and it's going to help support your group. You can use it as a healer and help support your ranged people with that coverage of damage reduction, because you can boost their resistances. See, it's a really nice complementary set to the build idea. And then you can get Thorvikins. Thorvikins is in a really difficult dungeon, I'm not going to lie. That's why I suggested starting with Bloodspawn, move up to Lord Warden, and then get that. Now, if you want more effective healing sets to use when you're playing the healer, there's a lot of good monster sets for that. There's Sentinels of Rakazum, there's Chokethorn, and I can't remember the other one, that summons this totem, which would really reflect this type of build really well for that kind of roleplay experience. And it would just make your character overall better, you know, for the purposes of healing if you needed it. So, and that is the gear. Now I'm going to go over the traits and the enchants that I use, and you can, you know, if you want to use other ones, you can. I just suggest these. So I'm using on the helm, the chest, and the legs, Invigorating. This is going for the trait. This is going to give you a little bit of extra stamina, magic, and health recovery, just to give you that edge, okay? Just to give you a little bit of an edge. Not a lot, a little bit. On the smaller pieces, we are using all sturdy gear, so this way you can effectively block more. Even as a tank and a healer and a damage dealer, you block attacks. And this is just going to help you with that capability to save resources if you need to block, even if you're using a two-handed sword or you're using dual wield or whatever as your damage weapons. Alright, so that's that. The enchants we're using on the body pieces is we're using 3 tri-stats on the big pieces. This is going to give you a large amount, not super large, but it's going to help you build your magicka, health, and stamina out more effectively, so that way you can build into those more effectively. So if you want to build into magicka, you can build into magicka. You've already got the resources built into your character to help you improve that. On the smaller pieces, you don't want to use tri-stats. It's not that you can't. The reason I suggest not is because it's only going to give you like 100 and something magicka, stamina, and health. That's not enough to really warrant using them there. It's better to use regular enchants because you're going to get 300 and something out of them. So you're actually going to get like twice the amount of what you would get if you're using tri-stats. So I suggest using 2 magicka enchants and 2 stamina enchants. This is going to give you a really good mix of resources available. And then on your sword and shield for when you're tanking, make sure you have a tri-stat enchant and make sure your shield is sturdy. You don't have to use sturdy. I suggest sturdy. And then moving on to the jewelry, the traits for it is we're using 3 rattle cage. 2 of them are trirune. 1 is infused. The reason I use an infused one is because we do use a lot of magicka with this build, and we don't use a lot of magicka tools all the time. So having a tool here that will allow us to use magicka more effectively and have our recovery rates better is going to be better for us in the long run. And it just depends on if you want to use it this way. And then I have a spell damage enchant and a weapon damage enchant. Again, to improve my ability to play this character in a lot of different roles and aspects of the game. Alright, now, moving on to the weapons, we are using a Nirnholm sword on the main bar. This is just going to help us boost our capabilities with different things like heals, damage, and different abilities that are affected by our weapon damage and our spell damage, because it does reflect both of those. As you can see, we have 2,790 spell damage, we have 2,379 weapon damage. And if you get Olorum put on you by somebody, this is going to help boost your magicka and stamina, so it's going to help boost your capabilities at doing damage as well, even in tank form. You're not going to do exorbitant amount of damage, but it just helps you improve your capabilities at doing damage in case you're on a one-on-one fight with like a trash mob and there's nobody there to help you DPS it down. You can help, slowly whittle it down. And it's a slow, but you can still do it. Alright, moving on to the staff on the back bar, we are using a Crusher enchant on an infused Rattlecage ice staff, and as this one says, this is Rattlecage sword. To get this character to where it is, to where this character is, it takes a long time. This is not something you're going to do overnight. It's going to take you a long time to get this character to have the ability to do all the different roles. So I would suggest starting as a tank, a healer, or damage dealer, and then building your way up to this. Like if you want to be a healer version of this, start as a healer with the resto staff, lightning staff, in heavy armor. Use sets that are going to reflect that until you get to higher levels and you earn more skill points to where you can start branching out the tools you have available to give you access to the skills I'm going to show you next. Moving on to the weapons, the other weapons you can use. You can use a bow with like weakening on it if you want. I would actually suggest using a weapon enchant for when you're using the bow. This is going to give you greater DPS for when you're in your DPS role. For when you want to play just magicka, Inferno Staff is really good along with lightning. Again, have one set up with like a weapon damage enchant to help boost your damage output, and then have one set up with something like a magicka recovery, or you could use this enchant, the Dager one. I'm not going to tell you which is going to be best, but I'm just giving suggestions. Another thing is, always learn a damage weapon, the one you choose. I like the maul for two-handed or for heavy armor, mainly because it helps me boost my weapon damage really high. You can use dual wield, but two-handed seems to help in heavy armor a lot more. So I like to use a two-handed weapon. Maul is really good because if you're doing DPS, it gives you that 20% armor penetration because you don't have access to like the Lover Stone and different things like that. The Maul works really good. And if you're using it as like dual wield, I would suggest a mace and a dagger, or a mace and a sword. That's going to be really good. Mace and axe is really good too because then you get a chance of bleeding. It's really up to you. Moving on, Resto Staff. This is another tool that is great for this build, especially for when you're playing a healer. Because you can run this even with like a two-handed maul or with a mace and shield if you want. This way you can train in all those different things, or you can even just use a lightning staff. But I prefer to use maul and Resto Staff for myself because I just like the play style. It's really fun, and I can get more up close and personal in the combat, so I can take advantage of my monster set for my group, and I can take advantage of all the different things that I have available, like the higher resistances and all that kind of stuff, because I'm in heavy armor. Alright, moving on now to the skills. So, I'm not going to tell you what skills to take. I'm going to make suggestions on the skills, but the first thing I'm going to tell you is make sure you get all your class ability or passives. The class passives are really important because even though you think you might not use an ability from that class, that skill line, you never know later down the road. Because you might eventually want to build your character out to something like this, so you can take advantage of all the tools you have available, all the skills. And so you're not limited to just stamina only or just magicka only. Alright. Because of the tools we have, we're using two-handed, one-handed sword and shield, bow, destruction staff, and restoration staff. I suggest you unlock these in that order. Like in the order that you want to use them. So like if you're going to focus on being a stamina DPS at first in heavy armor, focus on using your two-handed and bow first. Start with two-handed, then at 15, when you unlock a second weapon, use a bow. This way you can train yourself while you're progressing with those two weapons, and you can focus into that DPS aspect. But like I said, this is more of a tank setup to begin with, because it's well-rounded into all areas. I would probably suggest sword and shield and destruction staff, so that way you can unlock ice staff and sword and shield. Now your damage output in the beginning is going to be low because you don't have the sets that this build does. You're going to have to use overland sets and different things like that to try and give you a decent makeup of a build to help you get started. This is more of like, I've progressed my character to really far in the game, and I've gained access to all these tools. And make sure you just unlock the passives mostly, because the skills, you might not want to use all the skills on the trees, and that's fine, you don't have to. The reason I'm just showing them with all the different skills unlocked is this way I can show you like how many different tools you can have available. Because you can use different tools in different situations for different reasons. On your armor, since this is a heavy armor build, you're going to want to focus on unlocking all your heavy armor. Medium armor, you are wearing one piece, so the top two and the bottom one are going to be the most effective for you at any level. Like, just unlock it while you have medium armor equipped. Light armor, the top three, because you can't take advantage of these two here, and with medium armor, unless you're playing a stealthy character, there's no reason to take improved sneak or agility, because you can't use this unless you're a medium armor build. Moving on, Soul Magic, I like the Soul Summons and Soul Lock. Fighter's Guild, make sure you unlock all the passives. And if you want, you can unlock all the skills too that you might find more effective for you. You really don't need Turn Undead or anything like that because you have it built into your class, but it does help to have the Ring of Preservation. That would probably be a better option if you were a Necromancer. Mage's Guild, again, unlock everything that you want to use. I left this one unlocked just to show you guys, like, you don't have to pick something if you don't want to. So, Psijic Order, same thing. I picked the ones that I thought would be more effective for my character. And then Undaunted, I went through and unlocked the ones I felt would be more effective for my character in their design. On to Alliance War stuff. I like Sturdy Warhorn. I know a lot of people like Aggressive Warhorn, but I like Sturdy Warhorn because you never know, like, how well people can survive. And this just gives you that extra bit of support for your group to give them minor ward and minor resolve for a longer period of time. So you're not wasting your resources trying to get your Warhorn off so you can apply the negative or the positive damage output. This is just to help like cover your group's ability to play the content. Because you never know, like I said, I pug a lot, and I can promise you, this comes in handy more than Aggressive Warhorn does sometimes. Next is Echoing Vigor. Echoing Vigor is really, really good for you because it gives you a large area stamina heal. Because now you can use a stamina heal and a magicka heal and take advantage of those two tools while you're tanking. And that's what can be really effective for your group, is to add an extra layer of support, because that's what your class is designed to do. Your class is designed, or not your class, but your build, this build is designed to do that. It's designed to do support, debuff, do damage, do whatever it's necessary for a group to work. Next ability I unlocked was Caltrops. This is really good, especially for like large packs in dungeons, or if you're playing in Overland or you're playing in a public dungeon by yourself. This is a good tool to have, just to toss out and slow your enemies and do damage. It just helps overall. Support skills. I like replenishing barrier with this because of the ultimate gen thing. Each time that a barrier dissolves, I get ultimate back. And if I'm playing this in Magicka, the shield is ridiculously overpowered. Ridiculous. And it can really help you in helping new players learn content, especially if you're trying to help new players learn how to do dungeons, and even progressing into trials. This is a good tool to have if you're playing a healer to support your group. Alright, next up, Efficient Purge. Another great skill to have. Now, this is an expensive skill, so I use this more or less when I'm playing the healer role than when I'm playing a tank, because I will have more magicka to actually use this and make it effective. But the nice thing about it is I can remove 2 negative effects from my allies, reducing the duration any further of negative effects by 50% for 6 seconds. So I can apply this to them. They'll get the immunity from, or they'll get the removal. Then if they get that stuff reapplied, it's not going to be as effective. So it's a really good way to keep that stuff taken care of. Next up, I really like Mystic Guard. For some reason, it's one of my preferred skills. The other one's really good too, but I like this one because of how it works. It says, create a life bond between you and an allied friend. While bonded, 30% of the damage you take is instead redistributed, or they take is redistributed to you. So this you can use tank or healer, because you have really high resistances and really high health pool. You can use either one, and it's really super effective. And then down here, Magic Aid. Racials, again, because Dark Elf has that unique ability to where it can take both magic and stamina. That's why I like it, and the fact that it can also get this, the increased weapon and spell damage. This just applies to them really well to be that hybridized type character if you really want to be. Any race can hybridize, but some races are better at it. And Dark Elf and Khajiit are definitely better at it than a lot of the other races. But that is pretty much it. I would go over every class skill, but honestly, you're going to make your own decisions on what class skills you're going to find work better. Same thing with Bone Tyrant, same thing, just you're going to find what works best for you. And this is what you have available, like all the class skills. Find the ones you like, use them, test them, figure out which ones you like and how they work, and then utilize it. And then just leave your character that way, because you don't really need to worry about it after that, once you've made that decision. Like, I like Hexproof because it's a really good way for me to cleanse a lot of negative effects for myself. And then while slotted, I also reduce the cost of abilities, while slotted, the cost of all your abilities are reduced by 3%. So I can have this on both bars if I want, and reduce the cost of all my abilities by a greater percentage. So yeah, that's the the Dark Paladin. That's how it's set up. That's the skills, the gear sets, the race, the class, and you get to choose if this is the way you want to play your Necromancer. And it's a really cool, fun way to play. It's just interesting and everything like that. And if you want it to be more end-game centric, there are sets you can get that are going to allow that. I'm just not going to make suggestions on it because I don't focus on end-game. I don't play a lot of trials and stuff. I focus mostly on just playing the game. I do trials from time to time, and this is more than viable for it. So, at least to complete it. If you're looking for score runs, there's meta people out there that have builds built around just playing a specific role a specific way to make their group dynamic more effective, and you can play that. But this is my idea for a all-around character build called the Dark Paladin. Hope you guys like it. If you did, you guys know what's coming next. Hit that like button. If you guys want to see more videos by me, you can subscribe. Other than that, I want to thank you all for watching. Until next time, have a wonderful day. And this guy might see you in game. Bye.